Today we're making the Bat Brander. Welcome back to Filmmaking. I'm your host Chris, and in this week's episode, I'm going to be showing you how to make your very own Bat Brander. Although the movie this prop was featured in opened to mixed reviews, the prop was awesome.
Wherever you do, wherever you go, I will be watching you. Look at us. This is how it all came, Sam.
This prop used various techniques from some of our previous builds. There was a helpful video to re-watch, will most likely be our Batarangs video. I will leave the link to that video in the description. Let's get started by reviewing some materials we'll need for this build. Some silver spray paint, some black spray paint, an old sponge if you're looking to do some weathering, a hot glue gun, some hot glue sticks, some thick cardboard, EVA foam, a few wooden buttons, some thin cardboard, a marker, a Dremel, some tape, a 1/2-inch PVC pipe, some all-purpose glue, an X-Acto knife or scissor, and a Batarang from Batman vs. Superman template. If you have absolutely none of these materials, this build is going to cost you quite a lot of money, somewhere around the $60 range, and that's a lot for such a simple prop. There are many ways you can make this build cheaper than it is. For example, you could substitute the Dremel with some simple sandpaper. I highly suggest using materials from around your house. For example, I just found this wooden dowel, and instead of using some PVC pipe or going out and buying some, I could use this instead. Without further ado, we're going to be started by building this area of the Bat Brander. To do this, we're going to be using the same technique that we used to create our Batarangs. For a very detailed explanation of how we're doing this, go back to our Batarangs video. That link will be in the description as stated before. The only difference will be the patterns made on the Batarang. Nevertheless, the basic steps to create this area of the Bat Brander is to take your template onto a piece of EVA foam, cut it out with a scissor or X-Acto knife, then use some sort of sanding tool to sand out all of the edges. After that step, you should have a very rough outline of what would be the face of the Bat Brander. Before I make the design on the branding iron, I will be using a Dremel to smooth everything out and make the ears. I highly suggest doing this. Once I finished dremeling, I had this. Our next step is now to make the patterns on the branding iron using some reference and a marker. As you can see, this design is definitely not perfect, and I've went in several times with the marker and fixed some of the mistakes, but nevertheless, this is a perfect template for when I start to etch in the design. When etching in the designs on the brander, feel free to use an X-Acto knife, but I'm using a disc blade on my Dremel instead. Once I finished making the cuts, I had this. It's definitely starting to look a lot more like the branding iron. Before we make the grip for the Bat Brander, I'm going to be painting a 50-50 mixture of some all-purpose Elmer's glue and some water onto an EVA foam branding iron. This will help so, when it's time to paint, the paint does not absorb into the foam. I would suggest painting 3 to 4 coats. As the first coat of that mixture on the branding iron dries, I'll be starting to make the grip. For this, you could either use a wooden dowel or 1/2-inch PVC pipe cut to a little bit longer than the width of your fist. If you're using a PVC pipe, the very first step is to close the ends with some thick cardboard by tracing out some templates and gluing them on. I now have these cardboard discs. I'll be hot gluing them at the ends of my PVC pipe. When looking at some reference, it's clear to see there are some silver plates at the front of the grip. I'll be using some thin cardboard to craft these. At each end of the grip, there are some black buttons. For that area, I will be using these wooden buttons I found, painted black. Before I glue everything together, I will be painting all the pieces in accordance to the reference photo. As all of those pieces dry, I'll be starting to make that connector piece right in between the branding iron and the grip. For this step, I used some thick cardboard and drew out a rectangle with a height of 2.5 inches and the width of about 3/4 of an inch. I will be cutting this out. As you can see from the reference picture, the connector clasps over the grip. I've used some dotted lines to show what I think will be a good cut to match my grip. I'm waiting until my grip dries to see how accurate this cut will be. On the other hand, I will be making some curves on the sides as is seen in the picture. Make sure these are quite shallow. After making the two curved cuts and smoothing them out a bit, I had this. When I compare the two, it looks like this cut will work quite well. With this now in mind, I will be cutting along the dotted lines I previously drew. After cutting, I have this very rough and messy cut. I will be using my Dremel to smooth everything out. Before I hot glue the connector piece on, I will be painting it a silver spray paint. When spray painting, always exercise caution and spray paint in a well-ventilated area. As the connector piece dries, we become even closer to finishing our build. But one of the last pieces that I will be building is that small circular plate behind the branding iron. I will be using some more thick cardboard for this piece. The piece depicted is very similar to an oval. I will be using the branding iron to give me an idea of how large I should make this piece. Now, all I have to do is spray paint this piece black. As several coats of the glue mixture dries on our branding iron, I'll be gluing the pieces together that we have so far in accordance to the reference photo. Once I finished gluing, I had this. Now all I need to do is finish the branding iron. Our branding iron is finally ready to be painted. When I was looking for some reference photos, I came across this photo, which I've been using for the majority of the build. The thing is, the branding iron is simply painted a flat black. Yet in this picture, it is painted silver with some weathering. I will be sticking with this design and not our previous design. To start this process, I will put a simple coat of silver spray paint over the branding iron. With the silver spray paint dried, our next step is to do some weathering. For this, I will put a little bit of black spray paint on a paper plate, then use this sponge and gently do some weathering right around the pattern. I will be doing all these steps in a very well-ventilated area. Before we start, make sure you've taken all necessary safety precautions associated with spray paint. Once I was finished, I had this. Not only did I make it very charred and used, but I utilized a different technique than the one stated before. This technique was very similar to the one used in a realistic gun prop tutorial, in which I would put on a little bit of spray paint, then immediately wipe it off to give it this look. Now all we need to do is glue our two pieces together and we'll be done. And after following all of those steps, you will have your very own bat brander. Although this prop does not glow like it does in the movie, there are many ways you can do this in post-production, such as using a red plane and then using the mask and lowering the opacity a bit. That'll do the trick. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Backyard Filmmaking. If you enjoyed, don't be afraid to hit that like button or even subscribe. If you have any suggestions, tell us in the comments below. And thanks for watching.